Hi everyone, I'm Mirela Ciobanu, lead editor with The Papers, and we are live at Money Motion 2025 with Tim Rutten, CMO of Backbase, where I'm about to learn more about the company and how can traditional banking insert more technology, AI, and deeper conversation within their infrastructure. Tim, nice to meet you.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me to the couch.
Yeah. And I think yesterday, you had a panel on the maximizing customer lifetime value through AI. How does your panel, the story that you had, blend into Backbase?
Yeah. So if you look at what's currently most top of mind for our customers, but also in the boardrooms of, let's say, prospects that we speak with, you find that they're all looking for the new formula of how to embrace AI, how to leverage it appropriately, meaning they're looking for use cases and ways to actually get it off the ground and make real impact. Because the question that they're essentially asking a player like Backbase, where we're a white label banking platform that supports around 100 banks globally, where we do practically everything that is digital on all touch points for those customers. They all have the same question currently, that is, how do we continue our growth path? Because even though they're highly profitable today, they also see the squeeze in the markets from players like Revolut and big fintechs that are entering certain pockets and segments of the market. And they're going at a rapid pace. Not just how they enter the market and how they build groundswell and momentum, but how they execute and the technology that they leverage to basically deliver value propositions that are second to none. And yes, the most famous example is Revolut, but they are showing the way. They are the North Star, if you would ask me personally. And that's the question that the bankers are walking around with, trying to figure out how to play in that area, how to play in that arena.
Yeah. And if you think about this formula, in a way, you mentioned that Revolut is the champion. What are the main features that make it the formula, the recipe for success?
Yeah. Personally, I would say that the wrong approach would be to look at the features, because there's always new features, there's always new innovation. And that's the thing. So the way they operate, the way they run a platform business essentially, and the way they have digital applications on mobile at this moment in time and other devices, they have a way to innovate at a rapid pace and deliver value propositions that are super tailored to the individual. So they almost get to that nirvana state of a segment of one, that my application is vastly different than yours. If we log into the same value proposition, it practically is dynamic and fluid to really suit me as an individual, given where I am in my life, given where I am in their product portfolio, given where I am compared to other customers in the cohorts, meaning they very well can predict what my next best action would be and what my next logical product would be with a high propensity to buy. Meaning they have a growth engine. Just like how you and I probably consume Netflix, it drags you in or pulls you in to consume more and to continue with yet another episode, or to position something that I might like similarly. Just like all the others that have basically shown similar viewing behavior, they will also look like this episode. Bring it back to banking, that's exactly what Revolut is doing. And I think it's commonly overseen. Like, people don't understand as much. To be specific, traditional bankers don't directly understand that that's the game that a Revolut is playing and executing on, which leads to them onboarding 1 million net new customers to bank per month last year. That's 12 million customers, and this is Europe alone. Those are insane numbers. So something vastly different is happening there. And the panel was basically focused on exploring that a little bit. Like, what is the formula? What are the ingredients? Where a player like Backbase, we bring the ingredients to the table to actually play in that arena.
Yeah. So I have this feeling that this growth engine that you are mentioned is fueled by data, right?
Correct.
The use of data. Let's go into the topic of data and talk about relevant data, lots of data, data privacy, everything related to data, including data bias.
There you go. So maybe as a starting point, if you zoom out or take a few steps back, what do you need to hold true to be able to get to a level of applications and value propositions like Revolut? First of all, the traditional bank will always have their core banking system, the ledger. And there will be multiple other systems of record. There might be a CRM, there might be a payment system, there might be a loan system, and many others. Typically, there's dozens of them. What you would like to do as a first step is to basically have one single integration layer that brings all that data together in a very lightweight and easy to access way, meaning it needs to be in one single domain model which essentially tells you that there's one way of interpreting the data the moment it's in that integration layer, where the main, let's say, momentum in the market is to have an integration platform as a service, meaning you have a cloud-based integration platform or layer where everything comes together. Step number one. Step number two is to then, on top of that, consume all the data in a way that you can drive intelligence. So in Backbase, we have, first of all, the integration layer, which is an iPaaS, integration platform as a service. On top of that, last year we introduced our intelligence layer, which is data plus AI, which allows you to drive machine learning, Gen AI, large language models, practically every different ingredient that you by now have in the realm of AI, which, by the way, also is a container term. So to make it a bit more specific, what that allows you to do is to bring all the data together, which already to a degree is sanitized, and to start applying models and algorithms that make sense for specific use cases. So by no means is the first step to say, we have our integrations, let's drive the integration layer on top of it and let's fix everything. No, you make it small. You focus on a use case that will move the needle. Moving the needle might be internal. Maybe you properly automate with the use of AI back office processes or mid office processes and really transform them. Or you look at the actual customer experience and touch points and maybe introduce conversational banking that, specifically drives cross and upsell, which is one of the many use cases you can go for. Or perhaps you have a private banking wealth management use case where you want to unburden a relationship manager with all the manual preparation they need to do. And you basically feed a GPT with the relevant data, with the portfolio information, and you basically prompt it, which we would already have done for you, and you get a report that you can share with your client.
Yeah.
Coming back to privacy and, hey, there might be a bias. For now, human in the loop.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we're at a stage of maturity today to claim that AI can fully drive the bank, let's say, on autopilot. I think that's dangerous. I think it's not desirable. It's also not the final use case where things have to go. There is value in the banker looking at what is being proposed by, the flow of AI, which could also be multiple agents and multiple things coming together, where the banker still needs to literally do a cross-check and do the final validation, say, yes, let's go for it. Which means all the hassle up until that moment is completely automated. And the final check is an actual individual to validate, is this the right thing to do, yes or no? Can I disburse this loan? Is this credit check indeed completely valid, given the flags that I've seen, yes or no? So in essence, it's giving you a superpower. And when implemented well, and when implemented truly at the core of everything that you're doing, which comes back to the different layers that I shared so far. So everything is nicely integrated. You bring it all to an intelligence layer, and that you then leverage an engagement layer for on top, which means, how do we now bring this to the customer? How do we make sure that our applications are dynamic, that they can actually leverage all that data and all that intelligence? Yeah, those three elements coming together that's the future picture that you want to go and move into. And that's exactly what Backbase brings to the table. The way we now call it is essentially we're a growth platform. There's no other way or more simpler way to explain that you want to move into this view on the world to actually unlock growth mode for your bank. Because otherwise you're just going to do separate use cases with separate pieces of technology you have in the bank, and they will never properly materialize towards your customer or your employee. You will not be able to compete at the level that you see with the others like Revolut, where they have one platform and they leverage data and AI to drive the value proposition. That's, I think I don't even need to explain it. The moment you experience it, you can tell.
Yeah, so this takes me a bit back to Revolut, since you mentioned big numbers. And I have this feeling that they succeed on this market also because they operate in many emerging countries. So they have data about financially excluded people. How can traditional institutions keep the pace with the likes of Revolut? Since you mentioned that they need to do integration with legacy systems, so we talk about banked people from developed countries. So I think that here, in a way, is not a level playing field. So banks don't have this advantage. Yep. How they can overcome and come to Revolut's numbers?
Let's lead with the positive. You will not be Revolut, and that's okay. Right? What are the positives? What is already at the table that is unique? You have a brand, you have loyalty, you have reputation in a country. Literally, that's number one that you always hear in the boardroom. We have that type of loyalty in the region. Number two, you have customers, existing customers.
Okay. Cater for what you already have.
You have those.
Yeah.
They're probably dormant to a degree. So
I
even
see.
if there's a lot of checking accounts and deposit accounts and mortgages and what have
Yeah.
you, you're probably not interacting with them actively, meaning you're sleeping at the wheel. You're not making sure that that customer base has, let's say, taken the maximum out of your product portfolio so far, meaning your share of wallet will be light. Let's say 1.4 perhaps, where if you don't act, they will certainly be banking with others as well, meaning you're not the primary relationship anymore. But still, you are sitting on that gold mine. So the third thing is, if you get your ducks in a row, if you have a good strategic view on what does the future look like, and yes, that is the business of Backbase. That's what we bring to the table for our 100 plus customers. You actually have a right to play. But the final thing I would like to add is, do not fall into the trap to do this on your own, to DIY it, to build it yourself. It's too late for it. It's too much hassle, too much work, it's too much complexity. You need to go way faster, which is indeed when you would look into the market and figure out, hey, who are the players who are proven, who have been around for a few decades and have shown success?
Yeah, so as a bank, to go faster on this lane, what are the questions that I should ask myself? So maybe it would be this one: do I cater properly for what I already have? What are other questions? Or how should I approach this problem in terms of, I don't know, partnerships or companies to join forces?
Yeah, there's a few angles to look at it. The main one I would share today is a thing called progressive modernization. So overall, it's a modernization topic. How do we modernize the bank? How do we future-proof the technology? How do we future-proof the organizational model and our thinking? Where that's also what I discuss in our podcast, Banking Reinvented, that there needs to be composability in the thinking of the banking leadership. Composability meaning, how do you build value propositions that you can turn on and off? How do you get an agile way of thinking where you can launch stuff within 4 to 6 weeks, if not within the week?
Yeah.
And that's more composable thinking from the C-suite, which then also indicates to the engineering leadership, we need an architecture that can support that ambition. Meaning you're going to be looking for something that allows you to step-by-step modernize the bank. And that's when we typically speak of a composable architecture on a composable platform where you can bring together the right and relevant ingredients to deliver value to the channels, to the actual end customers and the employees that are servicing those customers. Going all the way back, what is the formula? The formula is make things small and start in a pocket where you have a real issue and a real business case or a specific use case to tackle, but do not go for a point solution approach. Meaning, well, if it's only that issue, let's bring that technology and solve it. Because what would happen is what is happening already for many decades. You just add more and more technology to the stack and you need to system integrate all that stuff to build a nice application for the end user. And that work, which is where typically traditional banks are today, is eating around 70 to 80% of your budget and it's not delivering value as much as it could. Meaning, I would look into the market, whether it's Backbase or any other player, I'm totally okay. But essentially, I would look at a player that can help you accelerate and has that same DNA. Progressive modernization meaning step by step, capability by capability, layer by layer, making progress.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you go into a major investment ticket for many years. Think about core modernization, where they could make a decision to modernize the core because the core is a problem to them. We can talk about it in a different interview perhaps. But that typically takes 2 to 3 years. So they're spending time, effort and investment for 3 years. And only after 3 years, there's a fresh core. The customer does not see it, feel it, or have any impact because of that move.
Yeah.
And you don't have that time. So I think that's the main statement I'm trying to share here. How do you go fast to the future state while not making short-term decisions and hurting yourself, while also not falling for the trap of we need to modernize the core, and that's going to be the differentiator, because I do not believe that that's where you can differentiate your offerings.
Yeah. So I heard
there's a lot there, but
so I heard integration, composability, changing a bit the mind shift to have also a vision for the product, and also you mentioned this idea that between collaborators there need to be similar DNA. And since we're here at Money Motion, do you feel that there is similar DNA, fintech DNA among participants? What are your takes so far from the event?
So we work with the more traditional bank or the the existing bank that has been around for many decades, if not hundreds of years. What you see there is it's pretty black and white.
Oh.
You have the change. No, it is. You have change agents. Those are the ones that are open to learn. They really have a growth mindset and they want to make an impact. And they're a little bit frustrated because they're being held back by their own organization, their own technology stack, and the ambition that they have personally to drive change. They're being held back by the past. At the same time, these are also the people that really do understand big fintech, challenger banks, neobanks like Revolut and others. They are entering the market and they are making pace and they are eating your lunch. So they actually understand we have an enemy and we need to fight back, right? So they feel that.
Yeah.
The alternative is the executive that basically sits back and says, well, we are doing some AI investments, we are doing some investments in the channels, we have a pretty high app store rating and, we're profitable, we're fine. And I think we're doing the right thing. And the problem is that they are convinced that they are doing the right thing, which I do not buy into at all, because the more the time progresses and the more the wave of change is, rolling into the regions where big fintech and challenger banks are playing, the more they will wake up to squeezed profits, to squeezed margins, to value propositions that, don't resonate anymore with the market because the next best alternative is 10 times better. So there will be a moment that they also need to wake up and think, oh boy, we took it a bit too tactical and too small. So yeah. I see the change agents. They're the ones that also work with Backbase very well because they then have a partner to execute with and accelerate. And you see the ones that need a bit of a wake-up call.
So Money Motion could be a wake-up call for some.
That is why I'm here. And that's also why I'm bringing a little bit of sense of urgency where the best moment in time to transform is the moment when you're strong, when you are profitable, when you have the funding, when you have all the confidence of the board, versus the moment when the chips are down. When the chips are down, something already is off. You are already in the red. You are seeing super high acquisition costs, or you're seeing a lot of churn, or you see dormant accounts, or you're getting acquired because you're not growing anymore as an institution. You can decide to wait for it, or you can basically make progress already right now and be a leader.
Yeah.
So I think it's a call to ambition.
Yeah. Great, Tim. Thank you for today's discussion. I look forward to continue and see how to build on this ambition.
Happy to stay connected. Looking forward.